Drum. As you know, Lambeg drums, Jimmy will know this. Where's Jimmy? There's Jimmy there. Well, and before we do this wee song, I'm just going to tell a wee story about Jimmy's father, the late great Jimmy Hamilton of Carrickfergus, who I met him when I was living in Canada. I went to visit him one day when they were living down in Davy Street, Carrickfergus. That's where he lived at the time. And I went to visit him because he was a well-known Lambeg drum maker. And when I got up to the back gate of his house, there was a goat tied up. And of course, when I went in, he told me that was going to be a head for the next drum. When I got to know Jimmy, I sort of figured that maybe Jimmy put that there because maybe it was a pet of his, and he put that there because he knew I was coming, he was going to tell that story. Anyway, he told me many stories, but one story he told me, I'm going to pass it on to you now. I've heard different versions of this story about the country, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy was the man in the story, because he told it to me in the first person. And apparently what happened was, there was an advert in the Belfast Telegraph one night that there was 2 goats for sale. And Jimmy thought, well, he would go and check this out because he needed a couple of goat skins for another Lambeg drum. So he found out where it was. They were out in the Braidaway near Slimish Mountain, and he had to drive down this big long lane to get to the house. And when he was going down the lane, he saw, just before he got to the house, he saw 2 goats. And he says that he thought he had died and gone to heaven because these goats were exactly the same size, they were exactly the same age, and as all drum makers will know, the ideal drum has to be made of female goats, and they have to be between 2 and 3 years old, and they have to be the exact same age if possible, or close enough, and the exact same size so that they can win the drumming matches with the ideal drum, you see. So he was all excited at the possibility of getting these 2 goats, and he drove up into the yard, and there's 2 old ladies came to the door, and Jimmy said he'd come about the ad in the Belfast Telegraph and about the 2 goats for sale, and there was 2 old sisters standing there, and one of them says, well son, we're awfully sorry, we did put that ad in the Belfast Telegraph, but we've been thinking about it, and we don't think we want to part with Victoria and Jennifer, because we need to be absolutely certain that they were going to go somewhere that were well looked after. And Jimmy says, oh listen dear, if you sell the goats to me, I'll make sure they're well looked after, because I've been working with goats all my life. I'll look after them. And he says, you know, he says, well, we wouldn't want them to be locked in some damp barn all the time. They're used out, run about. And Jimmy says, don't you worry, they'll hardly ever be in. And when they need to be in, in the winter time, when the weather's bad, I've got a nice wee shed, you know, it's nice and dry and a lot of ventilation. They'll be as happy as can be. And the woman says, oh, we're so glad to hear that, son. And Jimmy says, well, what sort of money are you looking? And she says, look, if you're going to look after Victoria, what did I say, Victoria and Jennifer? Victoria and Jennifer. Like that, you can have them for nothing. And Jimmy says, boys, that's absolutely brilliant. She says, but there's one more condition, and that is that you never ever separate them, because they've been running around together ever since they were born. They're 2.5 years old, and they've never been separated, and it would break their heart if they were parted. And Jimmy says, don't you worry, they'll never be separated. They'll never be any more than 2 foot apart. Is that a true story?
Don't blame Billy, Geordie or Sam, don't blame Hughie or wee Tom, don't blame us and don't blame me for poor Titanic beneath the sea. In Belfast
Belfast town, we were mad keen to build the biggest boat ever seen. Folks said she'd never be sunk, they never thought they were in for a go.
Hammering sore and hammering hard on the big boat built in the Belfast yard. Ship Titanic was to be her name. What a pity, what a shame. Don't blame Billy, Geordie or Sam, don't blame Hughie or wee Tom. Don't blame us and don't blame me for her Titanic beneath the sea.
In 1912, in the spring of the year, the big girl showed she had no fear. Southampton Quay she sailed away, bound out for America. And the folks on board were as glad as could be, just to be part of the history. They sang their praises up and down on the big boat built in the Belfast town. Don't blame Billy, Geordie or Sam, don't blame Hughie or wee Tom. Don't blame us and don't blame me for her Titanic beneath the sea. So sing with pride and sing out loud. We're the boys, true and proud. We're the boys from Belfast town, and you surely know when we're around. And the yard in East Belfast, they built the big boat meant to last. Folks said she'd never be sunk, they never thought they were in for a dunk. Don't blame Billy, Geordie or Sam, don't blame Hughie or wee Tom. Don't blame us and don't blame me for her Titanic beneath the sea. Don't blame Billy, Geordie or Sam, don't blame Hughie or wee Tom. Don't blame us and don't blame me for her Titanic beneath the sea. By the way, this here is a billy goat drum. This is a billy goat drum because they need the billy goat drums and they're used for Lambeg drums, but they're okay for that sort of thing.